We begin our journey in a setting that is already charged with high emotion and the thin boundary between life and death: a hospital. Hospitals are transient spaces. They are places of arrival and departure, joy and profound grief. It is no wonder that in cultures across the world, they are considered hotspots for paranormal activity. The footage in question comes from a security camera mounted high in the corner of a hospital ward in Malaysia. The timestamp indicates it is late at night. The hallways are quiet, bathed in that clinical artificial light that never truly dims. The security guards, monitoring the feed from a separate room, noticed something on the screen that made their blood run cold. In the corner of the room, standing beside an occupied bed, there is a figure. It is not a doctor, nor a nurse, nor a visiting family member. It is a completely black, shadowy mass. It possesses the distinct silhouette of a small boy, yet it lacks any defining features. No face, no clothing details. Just a void of darkness standing absolutely motionless. The horror of this footage is compounded by the behavior of the living. As the camera rolls, we see hospital staff and visitors walking through the corridor. They pass mere inches from this entity. They do not react. They do not turn their heads. In one chilling moment, a person walks directly through the space the figure occupies, as if it isn't there at all. To the naked eye, the room appeared empty. But to the digital sensor of the camera, the figure was undeniable. The narrative surrounding this video takes a grim turn. According to reports from the staff, the patient lying in that specific bed, the one the figure was standing over, passed away less than an hour after the anomaly appeared. This detail transforms the sighting from a simple ghost story into something far more profound. Was this a manifestation of the patient's spirit preparing to leave the body? Or was it an external entity, a harbinger or reaper, waiting to collect a soul? The correlation between the appearance of the black figure and the subsequent death is a detail that is difficult to dismiss as mere coincidence. For our second case, the footage belongs to a man named Alejandro, a professional dog trainer. His life revolves around discipline and control. His social media account is filled with videos of his dogs performing complex commands, displaying absolute obedience and calm under pressure. These are not untrained pets. They are working animals. However, one night, the routine was shattered. Alejandro was out for a late-night walk with two of his large dogs. The setting is dark, illuminated only by street lights and the flash of his camera. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifts. The dogs, usually responsive to the slightest whisper, begin to panic. You can hear the desperation in Alejandro's voice. He reverts to his training commands. Sit, sit. He speaks in a mix of English and Spanish, trying to break through their hysteria. Get off. Get away. But the dogs are not listening. They are lunging, barking, and growling at the darkness. Their body language is not just aggressive, it is fearful. They are trying to create distance between themselves and something else. Then the camera pans to reveal what the dogs are seeing. Standing in the distance, bathed in the gloom, is a figure. It appears to be a woman wearing a long white dress. She is standing perfectly still, contrasting sharply with the chaotic movement of the dogs. In the seconds that follow, the figure simply vanishes. It doesn't walk away, it dissipates. Alejandro later stated that this was the first time in his entire career that he completely lost control of his animals. They refused to calm down. Long after, the figure was gone. The educational takeaway here involves biological response of the dogs. They were not reacting to a visual stimulus alone. They were reacting to a presence that triggered a fight or flight response so severe it overrode years of professional training. To this day, Alejandro believes what he encountered was not human. The third video brings the horror into the home, capturing a moment that seems to glitch the very fabric of reality. This footage was filmed by a woman who was recording a casual video late at night. The setting is intimate and safe, or so it seems. As she records, the room is suddenly illuminated by a brilliant, blinding flash of blue light. In the natural world, such a flash inside a house is inexplicable. It isn't a lightning strike, and it isn't an electrical surge, as the other lights in the room remain constant. At the exact millisecond of this flash, the camera captures an anomaly that is difficult to process. Standing in the room, appearing as if he is staring into a mirror, is a dark figure resembling a small boy. The figure is solid, opaque, and undeniably present. The terrifying aspect of this clip is the synchronization. The appearance of the entity and the discharge of energy happen simultaneously. In paranormal research, this is often referred to as a manifestation event, where a sudden burst of energy is required for an entity to become visible to the human eye or camera lens. The figure stands motionless, head down, in a posture that suggests deep sorrow or detachment. Then, as quickly as the flash dissipates, the figure is gone. Viewers in the comments have dissected this footage frame by frame, and many are convinced that this was a genuine capture of a spirit. The woman's terror is palpable, as the safety of her home was violated not by an intruder, but by a phenomenon that defies the laws of physics. We shift gears now to a mass sighting that reportedly took place in the United States. The text accompanying this viral video claims a date of April 2025, which suggests a futuristic and perhaps erroneous timestamp. But the event depicted is one of timeless hysteria. This is not a video shot by a lone conspiracy theorist in a basement. This footage captures an entire neighborhood pouring out into the streets. The audio is a cacophony of fear and disbelief. You can hear distinct voices shouting over one another. "It's a UFO for real, y'all. That ain't no damn street light." The camera focuses on the night sky. Hovering above the rooftops is a luminous object. It does not behave like a plane or a helicopter. It is stationary, glowing with an intensity that seems to pulsate. The sheer number of witnesses adds a layer of credibility that is often missing from UFO videos. We see people pointing, some laughing nervously, others screaming in genuine terror. One man argues with his uncle, who tries to rationalize it as a streetlight. The cameraman vehemently shuts this down. "That ain't no streetlight, bro. That's a UFO." What makes this video go insanely viral, as described, is the corroboration. It wasn't just one angle. Several other videos surfaced from the same city, filmed by different people from different vantage points, all looking at the same impossible object in the sky. Whether it was an extraterrestrial craft, a secret military test, or an elaborate atmospheric phenomenon, the reaction of the crowd is a raw, unfiltered documentation of the human response to the unknown. Home invasion is a primal fear. But what happens when the intruder cannot be arrested? This next clip features a mother home alone with her young child. It begins with a sound, a strange, rhythmic noise coming from the bathroom. The mother, acting on instinct, grabs her phone to document the potential intruder.
"Who's there? Show yourself!"
The video captures
What
the
do
door
you
moving.
want?
It isn't swinging in a draft. It is moving with intention, as if someone is standing on the other side manipulating the handle. Her voice trembles. Please go away. You're not wanted. She is pleading with the entity setting boundaries in her own home. She retreats to the living room, clutching her son, trying to protect him from the unseen threat. But the most terrifying moment is one she didn't even notice while filming. It was only later, upon reviewing the footage, that the true horror was revealed. As she holds her son, the camera angles slightly toward the hallway. For a brief second, a black figure, tall and distinct, appears in the frame and then vanishes. The realization that she was standing mere feet away from this entity while pleading for it to leave is the stuff of nightmares. The figure didn't just make noise, it manifested physically in the space she shares with her child. This realization has left her convinced that her house is haunted, a belief shared by thousands who have watched the clip and seen the shadow lurking in the background. Security cameras are designed to catch criminals. They are motion-activated, infrared sensitive, and unbiased. In this next case, a man named Dan posted a video to Facebook that defies explanation. It was early at the morning, around 5 a.m. The world is still dark, caught in the quiet hours before dawn. Dan was heading out to his car. He heard a strange noise, something that made him pause. Later, feeling uneasy, he checked his home security system. The camera, positioned to overlook the driveway, captured Dan walking toward his vehicle. But he wasn't alone. Suddenly, out of the empty air, a transparent white creature materializes. It isn't a glitch in the tape. The rest of the footage, the car, the trees, the driveway, is crystal clear. Only this figure is diaphanous and ghostly. The entity moves to the left, drifting with a fluid motion that lacks the bob and sway of a walking human. It seems to inspect the area before gradually fading away into nothingness. Dan insists there was no malfunction with the camera. The creature interacted with the 3D space, moving behind objects and obscuring the background. It serves as a chilling reminder that we may often be surrounded by things we cannot see until the infrared eye of a camera reveals them. Old houses often hold secrets, but rarely are they as tangible as the one discovered by a girl named Amelia. She had moved into a historic home in the United States, a structure built over 250 years ago. That is 2.5 centuries of life, death, and history absorbed into the wood and stone. Just 1 week after moving in, Amelia noticed a loose plank on the floor. Curiosity got the better of her. She pried it open. Beneath the floorboards, resting in the dirt where it had likely sat for 100 years, was a cache. She found a coin dating back to 1904, and she found a book. This was not a novel. It was an old photo album, heavy and thick. As she flipped through the pages on camera, the atmosphere changed. The photos were not of happy families. They were pictures of empty rooms, stark, desolate spaces that evoked a sense of dread. And in every single photo, lurking in the corners or standing in the background, was a dark shadow. It seems that by unearthing this book, Amelia triggered something. The activity began almost immediately. In a follow-up video documented late at night, Amelia hears a noise in her bedroom. She is panting, terrified. "It's like it just stopped," she whispers. But it hadn't stopped. As she films her room, the heavy curtain covering the window moves on its own, swaying as if pushed by a hand. Moments later, a pair of headphones hanging on the wall are violently thrown across the room. The force required to do this is significant. This wasn't gravity, this was a throw. The poltergeist activity, objects moving, noises, physical interaction, seemed directly tied to the discovery of that disturbing album, suggesting she had released something that had been trapped beneath the floor for a century. Our journey takes us to France for the 8th case, which involves the uncanny valley, our natural fear of things that look human but aren't. A woman began sharing videos of escalating horror inside her home, centering on her child's toys. The inciting incident occurred when the woman noticed her cat acting strangely. Cats are often the first to notice paranormal activity. The animal was staring intensely into a dark room, its gaze fixed on something the woman couldn't see. She started recording. Suddenly, a doll sitting on a shelf moves. Its left leg kicks out. There is no wind, no vibration. The woman checks behind the curtain. Nothing. She turns on the light and a strange shadow is seen moving across the wall, independent of her own shadow. The haunting escalated. The following night, she recorded the sound of knocking. Sequent, a rhythmic rapping on the door. She checked a remote-controlled toy truck, thinking it might be malfunctioning, but it was off. Her child was asleep. The climax of this footage occurs in the child's bedroom. While the child sleeps, a toy voice box activates on its own. It speaks in a cheerful mechanical voice. "I'm for sale. Super cool." In the silence of the night, it is terrifying. As the woman turns toward her sleeping child, the camera captures the doll's foot moving again on its own. The woman is now living in fear, convinced that an entity is using the toys as conduits to manifest in her home. We now step outside onto a lonely road near a forest. A group of friends were driving when they noticed something moving in the tall grass. They stopped the car and one of them began filming. The video captures a creature that is difficult to classify. It is white, transparent, and resembles a human, but its proportions are wrong. It moves slowly through the tall grass, wading through the vegetation. "What is that? What the hell?" the friends scream. Their panic is genuine. The creature does not acknowledge them. It continues its slow, drifting path. Then, right before their eyes, it begins to fade. It doesn't walk away, it simply dematerializes, turning from a semi-solid form into mist, and then into nothing. The footage suggests the presence of a spirit, or a cryptid, a being that exists on the fringe of our spectrum of visibility. The terror in the voices of the witnesses confirms that what they saw was not a trick of the light, but a genuine encounter with the unknown. In February 2015, a man living alone in an isolated house deep in the forest experienced a similar phenomenon. Isolation can be peaceful, but it also means there is no one to help you when things go wrong. He woke up late at night to the sound of his dogs barking violently. This was not their normal bark. This was the bark of animals defending their territory. He also heard strange noises outside. The next day, he reviewed his security camera footage. The video shows the perimeter of his property. Suddenly, on the left side of the frame, a transparent creature appears. It is humanoid in shape, but like the previous case, it is see-through. It moves slowly toward the right. It doesn't walk with steps, it glides. It passes through the space with an unnatural smoothness. The man was terrified. He realized his dogs weren't barking at a bear or a thief. They were barking at this spectral entity that was patrolling his home. He believes the figure was paranormal, a spirit of the forest that the camera managed to catch as it drifted by. Romance turns to horror in our 11th clip. A girl was waiting for her boyfriend in a park. He was walking toward her across a bridge. It was a sweet moment, and she took out her phone to film him approaching. As he walks, smiling and completely unaware, the camera captures something chilling. Directly behind him, matching his pace step for step, is a dark, semi-transparent creature. It looks like a shadow that has lifted itself off the ground to walk upright. It follows him closely, stalking him. The boyfriend feels nothing. He doesn't turn around. He doesn't run. He is completely oblivious to the fact that he is being hunted. When the couple watched the video later, the realization hit them. The figure was seemingly attached to him, following him through the park. In paranormal terms, this is often called an attachment, a spirit that clings to a person. The footage is a disturbing reminder that we never truly know who or what is walking right behind us. Our final case is perhaps the most invasive. A couple living a peaceful life suddenly found their home turned into a war zone of paranormal activity. It started slowly, but day after day, the events grew more intense. One night around 2 a.m., the woman was home alone while her husband was at work. She was woken by loud, aggressive knocking on the front door. Thinking it was her husband, she opened it. No one was there. The hallway was empty. The haunting escalated to physical manipulation of the environment. In a later video, the husband records a terrifying phenomenon in the bathroom. He hears the sound of water running full blast. "Get on." "Oh dear," he mutters, clearly shaken. He approaches the bathroom door. The sound of the water is deafening. But the moment he pushes the door open, the water stops, instantly. He walks to the sink. The tap is dry. The handle is in the off position. He closes the door and the water starts again. This happened several times. The entity was manipulating the plumbing, or perhaps replaying a sound from the past. The couple is now convinced their home is haunted, besieged by an entity that wants their attention and is willing to bang on doors and turn on faucets to get it. These 12 videos represent a cross-section of the unexplained. We have seen spirits in hospitals, cryptids in the grass, shadows in our photos, and lights in the sky. Skeptics will always try to find a rational explanation. They will talk about lens flares, wind drafts, and digital glitches. And perhaps for some of these, there is a logical answer, but can we explain away the dogs that panic in unison? Can we explain the water that turns itself off? Can we explain the mass sighting of a UFO by an entire neighborhood? The camera is a tool of truth. It records what is there, without bias or filter, and in these cases, it has recorded things that simply should not exist. These videos force us to confront the possibility that our reality is much more porous than we like to admit. They suggest that we are sharing our world with entities that watch us from the shadows, wait for us in the dark, and sometimes step into the light just long enough to be caught on tape. So, the next time you hear a creak in the floorboard or see a shadow move in the corner of your eye, don't just brush it off. You might be witnessing something that is waiting to be unlocked. What do you think? Was the figure in the Malaysia hospital a reaper? Was the object in the sky an alien craft? Or do you have a rational explanation for what we've seen today? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the viral and the verified terrifying, please hit that like button It really helps the channel grow. And if you haven't already, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. We have many more files to open. Until next time, stay safe and keep watching the screens.